Hello, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, everybody? I hope you guys are doing great today. I hope your day's going just fine. I know that my day's going great. So it's another wonderful day in this life that we live in. It's another wonderful day in positivity, spirituality, recovery. Man, it's another great day to be alive. Yes, it is. So what's happening, man? I hope you guys are, what's up, man? I skipped a day or two or whatever of posting up a segment on my channel, and sometimes I do that. Sometimes I gotta get that rest. You know what I mean? Sometimes I got living life, right? So I got things that I gotta do also, and but nonetheless, whenever I'm not putting up a segment of my channel here, I'll do things, what I mean, that incorporate, staying on that positive track, what I mean, staying on that journey of spirituality, man, staying in that cosmic journey of the energies that are out there, to navigate somebody's life into those positive and spiritual things, you know what I mean? So that's where I channel my energy, man, and it's great. It's great and it works. You know what I mean? So, but nonetheless, man, I've been reading out of the book, The Cosmic Power Within You by Dr. Joseph Murphy, and man, we've been getting a lot of good feed from that book, man. It just got a bunch of great stories, you know what I mean? A bunch of great stories that are there to help somebody, you know what I mean? The purpose, check this out, man. The purpose of there being books in the world, and not so much now, there's a bunch of ebooks, you know what I mean? But let's just say literature that is out there for you to read, man. For you to read, for you to learn, for you to just expand that capacity in your in your brain, you know what I mean, in your mind, that neuroplasticity that is something that you and I can work out, you know what I mean? You can, like an exercise, like a muscle, you know what I mean? And the more that you feed it, the more that you do things in a positive and spiritual sense, the more that part of your body starts working very, very efficiently. You know what I mean? So it's just like any other thing that you do in your life. If you feed it good things, man, just guess what? You will be. It's great when your engine in your car is running on all cylinders and it's just purring like a cat, and it's just working how you need it, the way it's supposed to be functioning. You know what I mean? And in this life of toxicity that we live in, it's hard for us to maintain what I would like to call a preventative maintenance plan for your life. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't have a preventative maintenance plan for your life. And I use that term because I'm an ex-boiler tech from the U.S. Navy, man. I've since I was 18, 17, maybe even younger than that, I've always been into this mechanically inclined. I've just been lucky enough to have understood things and how they work. You know what I mean? And when you use that sort of mentality, you can use that in other aspects, whether it's emotional, sociological, anything like that. You know what I mean? And you can figure out what works. In other words, you know what I mean? And just like a vehicle, just like any other mechanically inclined machine or technology, gadgets, whatever. If you do what it's supposed to do, if you put the things into whatever it is that is, so that they work efficiently, that's what you do. You know what I mean? That's what you do so that happens. And in your life, it's the same thing. In your life, it's putting things into your life that are positive, spiritual, and of good karmic energy. You know what I mean? And when you do that, you'll be amazed at how your life transforms and how your life starts moving. You know what I mean? Because for us, man, to have a preventative maintenance plan, you know, like in your car, you take it every 3,000 miles to get the oil changed. You know what I mean? And if you don't, then things start happening. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's the same thing. It's the same thing with your life. If you don't feed your life good and positive things that your life is supposed to contain, including the body, then guess what? Things are going to start breaking down. Things are going to start to decay pretty rapidly, man. You know what I mean? And when that happens, you know, you get stuck. You get stuck in this world of you know, fearful, negative, and dark thought process, man. You know what I mean? So it's just hard to get out of, man. To be honest with you, and I'm telling you this through experience. You know, it's hard to get out of those things, man. It's hard to get out of a rut, man. It's hard to get out of something that's got you bound down. You know what I mean? The chains of bondage, brother and sister, are terrible, and it is so hard to get out of that. You know, when you have a mental negative and dark and just, you know, thought process that isn't in a positive and spiritual sense. You know what I mean? And so going back to what we're gonna do today is it's just giving another positive and spiritual thing that perhaps can help somebody. You know what I mean? And what we're going to do is I'm going to use the book, The Cosmic Power Within You, this book right here by Dr. Joseph Murphy, and we're going to finish it out, man. You know, I've been reading this book and throughout the last, I guess, month and a half or whatever, and guess what, man? It's got 17 chapters, and we are today on chapter 17, man. So if you've been tuning into my podcast and you've stuck around, man, check it out. You today will be finishing a book, and it's great, man. It's great to feed yourself and to keep connected to spiritual and positive things. You know what I mean? And this is just a way of doing it. There's many ways to do that. This is just one. And this is just one of the things that I personally do. And it's just one of those things it's one of the things that I have in what I like to call my recovery arsenal. And in my recovery arsenal, I have books that I read. I have literature that I read, that I feed with, you know, that I get to feed somebody else. You know what I mean? And knowing that the things that we do and the things that we read, and you know, for me personally, I incorporate them in my life. You know what I mean? And if they work for me, because not everything's going to work for me, and I know that. You know what I mean? But the things that do work for me are the things that I really like to emphasize and share on the channel, because if they can help me and if they have helps, you know, a person who has, you know, gone through drug addiction, alcoholism, PTSDs, childhood traumatic experiences, depression, sadness, and anger issues, and suicidal thoughts, and all of those types of things I have gone through, you know, throughout, you know, in one point in time in my life, and because of the things that I've been doing, the things that I do in a positive and spiritual and in a sense, in that term, that they have helped. You know what I mean? That they have helped, that they have allowed me to break those chains. You know what I mean? And man, when you break chains, my brothers and sisters, dude, I'm telling you, it is just this amazing feeling that when you can move your arms out and grasp things, and I just, the way I feel about it, I feel like I can just grab and do anything that I want, man. You know what I mean? I feel strong mentally and spiritually and physically about it, and I feel like I'm unstoppable in a sense, just like these lions that are back here behind me, man. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm the king of my jungle, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And because I have the best backup partner that stands next to me all day long, and that's my spiritual and cosmic power of the divine nature, man. It's amazing. You know what I mean? And everybody has that they can have in their corner, and you do all day long. But if you have that negative mental dark thought process, man, is it hard to connect with them? You know what I mean? It's hard to connect with that energy. And but anyway, and that's the whole purpose. Reading a book like this, there's stories in here that allow some people, and it gives you different scenarios, how different people, moved past different adversities, and how they use that cosmic power energy to do that. And this is, and I believe it's helpful. It has helped me, so that's why I shared that it might help somebody else. And check this out. But before we get into that reading, I always do my, I always like to, start my readings or whatever we're going to talk about in the podcast with a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers, for all of those people who are bound down to some sort of struggle that keeps you bound down. So it doesn't, whatever it is, that's why we do this, right? So, but anyway, if you'd please join me in a moment of silence followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right, man. Well, let's get going, man. Check this out. Let me put these things on because I can't read a thing without these. And here we go. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me switch it all out. Let me take those shades off. Put these on. There you go. And today's chapter is chapter 17, and it is titled How to Link Your Thought to Cosmic Power. And it starts off like this. It says, it is said that though rules the world, thought always finds its way into action. Let me repeat that again. It is said that thought rules the world, thoughts always find its way into action. Man, that right there is just so powerful right from the get-go, you know what I mean? So let's keep on reading. Okay, it goes, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, thought is the property of those only who can entertain it. He also said, man is what he thinks all day long. Learn to respect and to have a wholesome regard for your thoughts, your health, happiness, success in life, as well as your general peace of mind are largely determined by your awareness of the power of thought. You have heard it said that thoughts are things and that thoughts execute themselves. Your thought is a mental vibration and a definite power. Your action is but the order and wordly manifestation and expression of your individual thought. If your thoughts are wise, your actions will be wise. When you conceive and ponder the thought, you are really releasing its latent power into action. William Shakespeare said, our thoughts are ours, their ends, none of our own. Let me repeat that again. Our thoughts are ours, their ends, none of their own. It says, think of whatsoever things are true, lovely, and elevating, and be assured of the authority of your thought. Believe the cosmic power of your thought, and you will discover the thinking, or that thinking makes it so. Whatever you think and feel as true and will you bring into your life. Your thought and feeling create your destiny. Feeling in so far as your thoughts is concerned means interest. This is the meaning of the biblical phrase, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. When you are fully vitally interested in your profession's work or a special assignment, you will be successful because you have your heart in it. You are thinking in depth or feeling the reality of your thought, which is thinking in the heart. Think with confidence in the power of your thought, and wonders will happen in your life. The first story goes on and says, thinking in cosmic truth brought him several promotions. While I was talking to a detective last year, he told me that a case had baffled him for many months and that he had been thinking of a solution and guidance, but that no answer came. I discovered that he believed in it was a very difficult case, that the culprits had left the country, and that the search was thus more or hopeless. I told him the things he had to do was to change the belief or thought in his heart, his inner feeling nature, that actually he was double-minded, and that it was mandatory that he change his belief by realizing the infinite cosmic intelligence in his subconscious is all-wise and all-knowing, and can reveal to him the whereabouts of criminals who participated in the theft. He realized immediately that his prayer and thinking had been contradictory, and that his head said one thing, but his heart said another. Therefore, nothing happened. He used this formula, and it goes like this. I have a deep, abiding faith and conviction in the supremacy of the infinite intelligence within me. I am now turning over my request in this particular case to my deeper mind, which is the great fabricator. And I know the answer will come automatically through my subconscious mind. I know that this belief in my heart is at this moment operating in divine order, and I give thanks for the answer. Goes on to say, he turned over his request to his subconscious mind each night as if it were the first time he had done it, thereby continuously reinforcing his thought patterns. At the end of 1 week, he had succeeded in penetrating the deeper layers of his subconscious mind, and he had reached a needed conviction. On the morning of the 8th day, he was shaving. The thought popped into his mind of a certain small town in Southern California. He went there and his partner and found the two men in a bar, arrested them, and recovered the stolen jewels. He had thereby proved without a doubt the wonders of thinking with cosmic authority. A remarkable case of a man from India. Not long ago, while I was lecturing in Palm Springs, I met a man in the spa hotel who said, "Do you remember what you told me in India about 16 years ago?" I did not recall the man or conversation. However, he reminded me of our conversation. He had wanted me to come to America, but he was thinking of the difficulties of procuring a passport, the quota system, his financial destitution, and his lack of friends in the United States. I had told him that he was just thinking of obstacles, difficulties, and impediments, and reacting to environment and conditions. This was not true thinking. Rather, it was foolish and absurd, because the mind magnifies what it looks upon. He showed me the prayer that he had He had showed me the prayer that I had written for him over 15 years ago. And the prayer went like this: infinite intelligence responds to my thought, for its nature is responsive, and I know the way will open up for me to go to the United States in divine order. I think about this quietly and with interest until I get the response which satisfies me. As I think quietly, vividly, and lovingly on the answer to my prayer, I know I am activating the subjective wisdom in my subconscious mind it then takes over and compels me to take all steps necessary for the realization of my desire. It goes on to say, he remarked that he had meditated along these lines morning and night and for about a month, at the end of which time he had met an American industrialist for whom he had acted as a guide to many parts of India. The American who was highly impressed with the man arranged for his passage to New York and employed him as his private chauffeur at a wonderful salary. This man knew that he was doing mentally, and his subconscious mind, which received the impress of his thought that and acted on the mind of the New York industrialist, causing him to fulfill the desire of this man in India. You must remember that all men and women who seem to help you to attain your objectives are simply messengers employed by your deeper cosmic mind to aid you in the unfoldment of the drama of your life. It goes on to say in the next story, how to know if you are really thinking with cosmic power. And it goes like this. A man recently asked me, how do you know when I am truly thinking? That is a good question. And the answer I gave him is simply this. You are thinking when you are activating your mind from the standpoint of eternal verities and the cosmic truths of God, which are the same yesterday, today, and forever. You are not thinking in the true sense of the term when you are reacting to the headlines in the newspaper, radio, propaganda, or from the standpoint of tradition, dogma, creeds, or environmental conditions or circumstances. This man who asked the question had been, as a matter of course, merely swallowing the thoughts of the columnists in the Los Angeles Times, and he was full of ideas of local and state politicians. These were not his thoughts, rather they were the thoughts of others and were mostly of a negative nature. Goes on to say, he immediately saw the light and began to think for himself, taking as his spiritual yardstick. And it goes like this: whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are good report. If there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think of these things. And all of this is in Philippians 4:8. It goes on to say, whenever any thoughts or ideas were propounded to him, he would reason between the two opposing ideas or thoughts and come to the conclusion in his mind as to what true from the standpoint of spiritual principles. When the thought of failure came to him from time to time, he always affirmed boldly, the cosmic infinite can't fail. I was born to succeed. Success is mine now, and the infinite intelligence in my subconscious mind responds and gives me the power, the strength, and the answer I need. He is now thinking from the standpoint of what is true of God, which is true cosmic thinking. There is no longer any fear or worry in his thinking, and his mind is serene. The next story is titled, How a Mother Stopped Reacting to Negative Suggestions. It goes like this. A distraught mother recently came to me to see me, worrying that her son would get polio. Also, the description of cancer on television and the radio disturbed her, and she imagined that she had some of the symptoms about which she had learned. It seemed that every wind that blew affected her. She was not really thinking. She was reacting to the fears and negativity of the world. I clarified in her mind the power of cosmic thought, stating that every thought tends to manifest itself, expect it in neutralized by a counter thought of greater intensity and force, and that real spiritual thinking has completely free from fear and anxiety. She began to perceive that all her fears were but reactions to rumors false beliefs and erroneous view of things. In other words, she was making external the cause, instead of realizing that the creative cosmic power was within her and would flow instantly in response to her directed thought. She came to a simple, forthright conclusion in her mind that hereafter she would separate the chaff from the wheat and the false from the true, fear from her ideal. She realized clearly that all her fears were due simply to a false viewpoint, i.e., giving power to externals and the false voices of propagandas of the world. Recently, this woman exclaimed, "It is wonderful to know that I am the only thinker in my universe, that my thought is creative, and that all the suggestions, propaganda, conditions, and circumstances of the world are not creative, but merely suggestive, and all subject to change by my creative thought. And when I think God's thoughts, God's power is with my thoughts of good." She is now a positive and constructive thinker because she thinks from the vantage point of cosmic truth. The next story goes on titled, "A Healing Secured by Cosmic Thinking." I had a long talk with a woman who was quite bewildered and distraught by this passage in the Bible. And it goes like this: "If any man cometh to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple." Luke 14:26. Goes on to say this woman had left her old traditional religion, which was that of her father and mother, and they were very critical of her. She deeply resented their gloomy pronouncement of eternal punishment for her. The explanation was the cure of her mental disturbance. I pointed out to her that the word hate in the Bible means to reject, to repudiate, and to disabuse the mind of false concepts. And all that it meant was that she was to start thinking for herself from the standpoint of harmony, health, peace, wholeness, and all the blessings of life. In other words, in spiritual cosmic thinking, there need be no antagonism. There need be no antagonism or opposition to parents. They may have different religious beliefs, and she was to permit them to believe that they wish and to let them have their peculiarities, abnormalities, or eccentric beliefs. But she should love them in the sense that she wishes for them all the blessings of God. And she was to think kindly and lovingly to them at all times. She would, however, refuse and completely reject mentally the religious beliefs of her parents without any rancor or bitterness. I explained that Jesus was simply speaking in a paradoxical way, exhorting him and women, exhorting men and women to following wisdom and the external truths of life, and to reject all erroneous beliefs and concepts about God, life, and the universe. Next part is titled, "How She Gained Love and Goodwill." She gave up all her resentment and anger toward her parents and realized that as she worshiped, honored, and gave allegiance to the God presence within, she automatically had love and goodwill in her heart for her parents and for all men and women in the world. Love is the fulfilling of cosmic law. The next story is titled, "A Case of Seemingly Virtuous Man Deprived of Good Fortune." A few months ago, I interviewed a man who stated, "I don't drink, smoke, gamble, or commit adultery, yet I am plagued by losses, misfortune, and business failures. And I have been going to psychiatrists for mental disorder for over a year and with no results. Why is God punishing me, sir? So, he goes on to say he was a member of a certain Orthodox church. Apparently, he followed all the rules and tenets of the church meticulously from an external standpoint, and he prayed every night and morning and believed himself to be a good man, loyal and faithful to God. Now he was grumbling and growling against God and claiming that God was not playing fair with him. I taught this man the simple workings of his own mind and gave the reason for all his troubles by elucidating on the fact that he could keep all the rules and regulations and practice all the formal rites of the religion and still bring all sorts of limitations, trials, tribulations, and suffering on himself by wrong thinking and false beliefs. His false concept that God, the supreme intelligence within him, was punishing him, brought on all his difficulties by the very law of his mind. As he thinketh in his heart, so as he thinketh in his heart, so is he. And that's in Proverbs 23:7. Actually, he was tormenting and persecuting himself by falsely beliefs. Moreover, he had a fear of failure, which actually attracted failure in business and other ventures. I also pointed out to him that it is not the body that commits adultery or remains victorious. The body moves as it is moved by the mind. It acts as it is mentally acted upon. Your body cannot make you commit errors or steal, rob, or defraud. You mentally decrease something and your body follows. Your mental orders, your thought and beliefs govern your life and are the cause of your experiences. The interaction of your conscious and subconscious mind is the basis of all the events of your life. If you come to a false or an erroneous decision in your conscious mind, your subconscious mind accepts your decree, good, bad, or indifferent, and produces events and experiences according to your conscious mind's belief. The explanation appealed to him, and he began to use the following prayer regularly, morning, noon, and prior to sleep at night. And the prayer goes like this. It says, I stay my mind upon God. I am kept in perfect peace. In this peace of God, I find order, harmony, and divine love. No word of God shall be void of power. The words I speak are full of spirit and full of life. I acknowledge God in all my affairs and transactions. My mind is stayed on him. I am blessed and prospered by the activity of the law of good operating in my life. All my statements of true are charged with life, love, and meaning in cosmic wisdom. The words I speak make a deep impression on my deeper mind. I am glad that I know God dwells in my heart, for God is the very life of me. These words sink into my heart. Behold, I dwell with thee, O man of God, and thou dwellest in me. I know that when I look at my fellow man, I am seeing God in human form. I bless and send forth loving thoughts to all mankind. I speak the word now. My words are creative. The deeper mind within me responds. I now decree perfect health, harmony, and peace in my home, my heart, and all in my affairs. I know and believe that God is guiding me now in all my ways, and the infinite cosmic spirit governs all my actions. I have decreed it shall come to pass. I have found the jewel of eternity in my own heart. Goes, this man has received several promotions in his place of employment, a large industrial firm, and has found the peace that passeth understanding. The next story is titled, How to Advance by Beating the Law of Averages. A beautician asked me why she hadn't been getting ahead and making more money. She also complained that she felt inferior and unwanted, and that she was really down on herself. She was neither good nor bad. She earned a mediocre income and was living in a backward area of the city. She was not thinking for herself, but rather was producing the experience according to the law of averages. The law of averages is simply the mind of the masses which impinges on all of us and which automatically believes in sickness, accidents, disease, failure, and misfortunes of all kinds. The mass mind is mostly negative, but there is also much good in it, such as the constructive thinking of millions of spiritual-minded people who pour into the masses' mind thoughts of love, peace, joy, success, confidence, and faith in God, and all things good. However, these people are outnumbered by the vast majority of people who dwell in the negativity and ignorance. This is why no one should live solely according to the law of averages. If you do not think of yourself and keep within cosmic conscience, you will automatically be a victim of the masses' mind, which impinges on the receptive medium of your mind. It will do all your thinking for you, resulting in negation and troubles of all kinds for you personally. This young lady learned that what she was experiencing was the sum total of what she had ever thought, plus that the thoughts and beliefs of others, since she failed to think for herself. She began to activate her conscious mind spiritually, which soon became a law of action at her subconscious level. She began to discover a vast difference between spiritual cosmic thinking and average mass thinking. In average mass thinking, you are not in control of your thought life, and you are not giving correct commands to your subconscious mind. As she began to deliberate conscious mind selection of spiritual ideas, these automatically became impressed in her subconscious mind, and wonders began to happen in her life. She meditated on the following prayer several times a day. And it goes like this: I know and realize that God is a spirit moving within me. I know that God is a feeling or deep conviction of harmony, health, and peace within me. It is the movement of my own heart, the spirit or feeling of confidence and faith which now possesses me in the spirit of God and the action of God on the waters of my mind. This is God. It is the creative power within me. I live, move, and have my being in the faith and confidence that goodness, truth, and beauty shall follow me in all my days of my life. This faith of God and in all things good is omnipotent. It removes all barriers. I now close the door of the senses. I withdraw all attention from the world. I turn within to the one, the beautiful, and the good. Here I dwell with my Father beyond time and space. Here I live, move, and dwell in the shadow of the Almighty. I am free from fear, from all fear. And it goes from the verdict of the world and the appearance of things. I now feel his presence, which is the feeling of the answered prayer or the presence of my good. I become that which I contemplate. I now feel that I am what I want to be. This feeling or awareness is the action of God in me. It is the creative power. I give thanks for the joy, the answered prayer, and I rest in the silence that it is done. Goes on to say, this young lady is now a proud owner of her own beauty salon and is successfully moving onward. And that, my friends, is chapter 17. And that there concludes, man, the reading of the book, The Cosmic Power Within You. And you know, that's amazing to me that we're able to that we finished the book. You know what I mean? That's another book that you can add to your recovery arsenal, because man, you know how many stories were in this thing? Amazing stories and helpful stories of people who have gone through things. Even though this book was written in 1968, it still reads clear to somebody's mind today, in today's present day. Can you imagine that? And you know what that is? That is the thinking process of changing that mental thought process to a spiritual positive, process of thinking. And in turn there, when you do that, you send these messages out into the universe, right? And those are out there for people to gain. Someone else who's thinking that they need that positive stuff, that they need that spiritual energy. And when you're doing stuff like this, like all these stories in this book, man, you're helping somebody else. You know what I mean? Believe it or not. When you're chanting the prayers, when you're chanting and you're meditating and all those sorts of things, and you're doing it genuine feelings from your heart and your soul, and when you get that energy and project it out into the world, man, that is the energy that goes out into the universe to help somebody and to help you. You know what I mean? That is the boomerang effect of the things when you do these spiritual and positive and energetic things of the cosmic power and divine power that we have access to. Then your life starts changing, man. You know what I mean? It's just amazing to me how that happens. You know what I'm saying? And it is it's great. It's a way to live your life if you're stuck. If you're stuck in something that you need answers to, whatever that is, because you can put all of these stories into your scenario. You know what I mean? You could put all of the stories and all of the things that these people in this book have done. You can adopt those and put them into your scenario and pick and choose to see which one works for you. You know what I mean? Because that's what I did. That's one of the things that I find and I know to be true is the thought process that you have to maneuver your life in. It all comes from things that you get from somebody else's thought process. You know what I mean? And when you're doing that in a spiritual and positive, energetic way, I mean, there's no way to fail in a sense. You know what I mean? When you're feeding your mental capacity and your conscious mind is grasping all these things and allowing whatever it wants into the subconscious mind, so long that they are positive and spiritual and of great divine cosmic energy, man, it is like you can become and do and map your life however you want. And you know what? The greatest part of that to me is that you can do it at any time, man. You know what I mean? There's no set time that you got to be, my age or older or younger or what, in any part of your life. Anybody who hears this video podcast, you know what I mean? You can do that. You have the ability to do that. All it takes is a little time and a little repetition. You know what I mean? Time and repetition is a beautiful, beautiful, equation, if you will. You know what I mean? When you have time and you do stuff with this time in a spiritual, positive, and cosmic, energetic way, and do those in a repetitious basis, man, your life is going to be, you'll be roaring like these lions behind me, dude. You know what I mean? You will be the master and the king lion of your own world. You know what I mean? And how amazing is that? How amazing would that feeling be if today you're sitting there depressed at home? If today you're thinking those suicidal thoughts? If today the PTSD is just a little bit harder than it was yesterday? If today you're still contemplating, should I still keep using or drinking? If today you're sitting there thinking, man, I shouldn't have done that to my spouse, or I shouldn't have done that to my girlfriend, or vice versa, you know what I mean? I shouldn't have done that to him, or said that to him, or whatever, you know what I mean? It's in all those adversities, and those are adversities, my friends, of everyday life. Millions and millions of people are going through those types of things. But stories like this and that, everything can be turned around through that first step. And that first step is changing your mental thought process, my brothers and sisters, because I know this to be true, because I have been there, done that, and I have changed my life around in that sense. You know what I mean? When I was thinking nothing but fearful, negative, and dark, man, was I bound down to the addiction of drugs and alcohol and street life, and I couldn't get out of it. You know what I mean? But it was not until I turned that around, until when I started changing that mental thought process and doing that on a repetitive basis, and I'm talking daily, man. I'm talking sometimes 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, sometimes, all day long it felt like. That I'm, meditating, chanting prayers, but everything is positive and spiritual. And just thinking that I'm in line with my energetic, cosmic, divine, spiritual energies. Man, things started changing. Dude. And I mean, the last thing I've ever thought about was that I would be sitting here doing a video podcast and sharing, and sharing, encouraging and positive messages of spirituality and divine power and all of that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? I would never in my wildest dreams think that I would be sitting talking about stuff like that to somebody and trying to help somebody. You know what I mean? And I'm just grateful that I am. I'm grateful that I got the opportunity to do that, and that I have the opportunity to do that, and I'll continue to do it because it would be me doing a disservice to myself and to you if I wouldn't share things that have helped me along the way, man. You know what I mean? And if I could find a way out with the things that I picked up along the way, man, you can do the same thing. You know what I mean? So. Again, Dr. Murphy, Joseph Murphy, The Cosmic Power Within You. What a great book, man. I'm excited that we finished that book, dude. I really am, because there's a lot of powerful messages in there. Hopefully you guys can pick up a copy of that somewhere. Maybe it's on Amazon or something like that. I have no idea. But, this book was given to me, so I'm grateful for that. But, so, a lot of stories in there. But at any rate, man, I guess that's going to be it for today's segment, man. And, thanks for tuning in, and I greatly appreciate it. I hope that you guys found some insight through the things that I read today, and hopefully that it helps somebody, man. I really, truly believe that it was needed to be read to help somebody who needed to hear it today. And but anyway, if you would please give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, leave me a comment if you want me to talk about whatever, just shoot me a comment, man, and give me suggestions, whatever, I'm open to everything. And and if you would please hit that subscribe button, share my channel, it'd be great. I would greatly appreciate that, man, because the only way to share and to help more people in this toxic world that we live in is to share stories like that, man. And so if you would please hit that subscribe button, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm indebted to you guys. Just know that it doesn't cost you a thing when you do that, and that you will be helping out another veteran, another person dealing with PTSDs, childhood traumatic experiences, suicidal thoughts, drug addiction, alcoholism, depression, anger issues, sadness, all of those things, my friend, because I have dealt with all of those things at one point in time in my life, and I do know that there's a way out. So appreciate you guys, and I guess until the next time, man, on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.